he is dog whistling to use a weapon like this against Tom Cotton. Did anybody see this clip on X, this post on X of Tom Cotton? Now, Tom Cotton put a video up that was basically like, or a post on X up that was showing a video of, I believe it was climate protesters. It might have been Palestinian protesters, pro-Palestinian protesters, blocking a street, as you see many times, and someone grabbing them and dragging them out of the way. And Tom Cotton basically puts, this is how you should deal with people like this. Now, let me be completely honest with you. It's one thing for someone like me to potentially say something like that, though I'm very careful to ever suggest anyone put their hands on anyone for any reason. I'm not saying there's never a time to put your hands on someone. And there's a difference between dragging someone out of the way and like beating their daylights out of them or something like that. But I am aware that there is some level of responsibility that as someone who has even a small as audience as me, you have to be very careful before you tell people to go out and put their hands on people. But that's doubly true if you're a senator or something like that. So probably not the wisest move in the world for Tom Cotton to be placing that. Now, Tom Cotton didn't say beat these people severely, use weapons. He said, I wish people would pull them out of the way. And of course, it's true that these people are an incredible nuisance and could literally lead to people's lives being harmed if you're on your way to work and you lose your job, or you're on your way to pick up your kid from school and you're unable to do so, or you're on your way to a medical facility. All of that's true. I'm not discrediting any of that. But I'm just saying, I don't know if it's the wisest for a senator to be saying that, because you know you're going to open yourself up to allegations of, oh, you're telling people to commit assault? That's what you're doing? And then you get in this debate that otherwise wasn't really necessary. Hasan, who's, Cenk Uyghur's nephew, I think, biggest Twitch streamer politically, left, classic millionaire socialist, you know the type. He just retweets Tom Cotton's post and puts a picture of a cartoon drawing of the gun that was sort of a homing gun that was used to assassinate former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. In other words, the implication is he is dog whistling to use a weapon like this against Tom Cotton. Now, I understand what his argument will be. Well, if Tom Cotton could suggest violence against people, then I'll suggest violence against people. The scale is massively different. Tom Cotton suggesting removing people from a roadway is different than dog whistling to use a lethal weapon against a senator that you don't like. I think those are worlds apart. And I don't know what repercussions came Hasan's way, but the rules are different when you're a lefty. You could do stuff like that, and the platforms aren't so quick to cut you off, and the FBI is not so quick to knock on your door. Tell a joke as a right-winger, you'll get a knock from an FBI. Post, assassination claims against a Republican member of Congress, you're a lefty, it's not that big of a deal. But here's the point I wanted to talk about. We need to have a conversation around what constitutes intimidating behavior, assault, etc., that would allow you to forcibly remove someone in order to egress. In other words, I seem to remember many of these same left-wingers that defend the let's block traffic on the highway. I remember them in at least 2 instances saying that the mere act of surrounding someone so that they couldn't escape, or that they felt intimidated and unable to aggress the situation, itself was an act of violence. And I could name both of those. Night 1 at Charlottesville. Does anyone remember this? You may remember it as the Tiki Torch Night. Vice News, who I believe is disbanded now, was on the scene, and they were with all these student protesters, etc., and all of these people that we were told are neo-Nazis, I don't know, whoever they were, not necessarily a group I'd affiliate with, but they all had these tiki torches, and they surrounded the protesters that had implanted themselves around this statue. And what we were told over and over as I was talking about this day, and I remember vividly, me and my wife were out with friends on a sort of little mini vacation. We went to a little casino and had fun. We're out eating dinner, playing slot machines and stuff like that. And as we were coming home, I read, and that's when the Charlottesville business had occurred. And I argued with people quite frequently about exactly what happened that day. Trump didn't say Nazis are good people, etc., etc. But night one of Charlottesville was this tiki torch, and I argued with people, and they told me over and over, and mainstream people said this as well. That's an act of violence. Surrounding people so they can't escape and intimidating them and shouting words, etc. All of that constitutes an act of violence. So you would be justified punching your way out of that situation. Because the mere surrounding... Now, that's not even as a good of example or analogy as the second example. The second example was Nicholas Sandmann, the Covington story, where the left went nuts because the proper boxes on identity politics were checked in an incident where you had white kids at a private school or a Catholic school at a pro-life movement. Oh, rich white Christian kids, ding, 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 evil, evil, evil. And then this Native American hero, a man by the name of Nathan Phillips, as we were told over and over, he, for his tribe, was the keeper of the sacred pipe. Nathan Phillips. And you remember the video? You like that? Keeper of the sacred pipe? Yeah. In this video, you saw these kids in his face while they were beating a drum. And Nicholas Sandmann was awkwardly smiling. That's what the video showed, and everyone said, oh my God, these kids surrounded this poor Native American and harassed him. It's an act of violence and intimidation. Only it turned out it was the exact opposite of the truth. The truth was that Nathan Phillips intervened on the behalf of black Hebrew Israelites who were adult black racists who were yelling racial and homophobic slurs at children. And Nathan Phillips, the keeper of the sacred pipe, decided that he would intervene on the behalf of the adult homophobic racist. That's what he did. And so he goes up and Nathan Phillips' Native American associate starts yelling at these white kids, go back to your country. And all of that was edited out, and that background story was edited out, and instead we got these evil white kids surrounded him, an act of violence, intimidation. If that was the take in that incident, if Nathan Phillips would have been justified pushing those kids to the side to get out, how is it any different when someone blocks a highway? If I'm driving down the interstate or a major highway and they block the highway, presumably there's cars behind me, I can't leave. I'm stuck. Is it different because I theoretically could get out of my car and walk away? To where? That's my question. Why is it when we seemingly have left-wingers being surrounded by right-wing groups, that itself is an act of violence? But when left-wing groups do the surrounding, when they block a path of egress, well, you can't touch them. Of course, it was mighty different when it was a bunch of peaceful truck drivers in Canada protesting Trudeau's draconian lockdown orders. It was ruled illegal. People were arrested. Their banks were frozen. Their bank accounts. They weren't allowed to raise money on places like GoFundMe. Isn't it amazing, those double standards? Isn't it amazing how if me or you would walk through the Capitol uninvited, we'd get thrown in jail? But if Stephen Colbert's people do it, or pro-Palestinian protesters do it, or any other litany of groups, Kavanaugh protesters do it, no problem. None. I just thought that was interesting. So, anyways, congratulations, Hasan, for, implying an assassination attempt against a U.S. senator. Good stuff.